Can you hear me now?
There he is. What's up, Dave Keys?
Hey there.
I'm gonna give you 3 minutes to talk a little bit about just why you joined and what you're learning and your overall experience.
Okay. Backstory. I joined a group back in 2014. Some of you may have heard of it. It doesn't matter. They were good, and I learned some basics of SEO, and it transformed my business. The problem and the contrast that I'll describe with that problem is that each year, that's 2014, this is 2021. Each year, the things that were taught got less and less effective. And there were some updates, but number one, you had to keep paying year by year for those updates. Number two, the updates were also less effective. It kind of fit into some of the category of trying to trick Google. And that has become completely untenable now. Google's too smart to be tricked. I mean, you can manipulate what they are agreeing can be manipulated, but you can't trick them. You can't like spam a bunch of stuff and expect to get results. So I had tremendous success, and then each month and each year it got a little less and a little less because I was unable to deliver for my clients like I did before. Then to top that off, in 2017, I was diagnosed with heart failure, and it turned out to be a very bad case. A year ago, just over a year ago, I had an aortic valve replacement, which is about as close as you can get to a heart transplant without an actual transplant. It revolutionized my health. So the way I seem and sound today, you would not recognize me a year ago or 2 years ago when I was very sick. And frankly, I was getting close to death. And the doctor said, if you didn't have something done within the next 2 years, you would be gone. So that's my personal backstory. That harmed, of course, being not up to date on what would work and my health issues. That really devastated my business. Then my health recovered, and I started looking for how can I bring my business back online in a way that will not stress me out, because I can't deal with that level of stress like a younger person. But I needed the income. And even with medical bills and the events that happened with that kind of major medical thing, I really needed the income. So long story short, Stephen Floyd offered his course, and I said, I know Stephen. I know his stuff is good. Back in the day, it was a little bit like, not quite white hat, but it was like a lot more work. Well, right now, that lot more work actually gets the job done. The things that work are the things that Stephen stuck with. And I joined his course. And lo and behold, I signed up my first ever local SEO client. I've always done real estate, and I've always been good at it. And real estate's anywhere, but I never wanted to tackle local because I really didn't know how to do it. And it just wasn't well covered in the material that I had in a way that would work. So taking the coursework with SMI, I brought on my first local client, and lo and behold, they had been with another SEO agency for a year, and they were just barely getting some things onto page one. My first month ended with them moving up from positions like 10 and 9 up to 3 and 4, and even in some cases 2 in 1 month. Now,
That's
this
awesome.
wasn't a trick. This was filling in the blanks that the other SEO agency just didn't do. They just like, well, you could tell they were outsourcing a few links a month, and that was it.
Oh God.
And I came in and I dropped by their office the other day. They're like, "Oh, you're doing great. Get out of here. We got to go to a meeting."
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that is the amazing thing. And I had some slides prepared. None of them are that important except the last one, and it's 6 points that I wrote down about SMI. And the more I listened to this webinar, the more I realized that they need to be said for someone considering whether to take the course and enroll or not. And this is important. I've been around the block, and good SEO is a moneymaker. I'm just getting started back in, and my income just went up, and I'm making 5 figures, and I'm working towards 6.
Hell yeah.
I'm working part-time and making the money that Somebody been in the workforce for 10 years is making. It's real. But you have to have the fundamentals. So
Go.
here's,
Hey, Dave, sorry to cut you off, Dave. I want to say thank you for coming on, first of all, and being in our community. And, for everybody here, live, Dave is exactly the kind of person that we love to have in our community. Not only does he take massive action, but he helps every other, he helps other members, as much as he can. So, this is the kind of thing, Dave's talking about. He just got his first local client. He is like basically one of the OGs in real estate SEO. He knows more real estate SEO than I do, but he's realized that he can expand into these other areas. And this is exactly the kind of thing where, me and Dave, we're going to be on the phone. We're going to be doing Zooms, right? We're going to be, we're going to be making sure that his business grows. So, this isn't a community that has 10,000 people in it or 100,000 people in it, right? This is a small community. So those people who are taking action, they're going to get the attention they need. If I need to help Dave close a deal, if I need to help him do a proposal, it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. So,
and by the way, Stephen did help me hang on to a client that I thought was going to disappear on me. They're still with me and paying. Thank you, Stephen, for that.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Dave. And, it's one of those kind of things, Dave talked about his situation. And, it's, very precarious, right? It's really scary, right? Having those kinds of, health conditions and, the income too, and COVID. And, Dave hit kind of a thunderstorm, like the perfect storm in a bad way. But you know what? He's coming out the other side. And I'll tell you this, I'll make a prediction that within a year, Dave's income is going to be higher than it's probably ever been in his entire life. Okay. And the amount of time and energy that he's going to take to deliver that is going to be less than he's ever worked. And that's exactly what I want for him. And that's exactly what I want for you. There's no reason why Dave can't be making, 25, 30, 35K, a month, honestly, clearing it, working, 15, 20 hours a month. That's a real thing. And someone like Dave deserves it. He deserves it.
That is a real thing. And the more I engage, the closer I get to that goal. And so I'm going to end up with 5 things here. They're accurate, consumable, evergreen, supported, and community. So what do I mean by that? The training you get with SMI is accurate. And that was the first thing I noticed as soon as I got into the training material. It was spot on, and everything I applied worked. I haven't had that experience in a lot of years. There's a lot of stuff out there that seems good, that sounds good, and you apply it and it might work for a while, it might not work. The content in the courses is consumable. What do I mean by that? Well, if you've ever had the experience of reading, say, a Microsoft manual or a book on how to do something with Microsoft software, then you know what I mean when it's difficult to consume. It's like, well, take the SQL server and apply this, until you're just lost in the terminology. This content is consumable. It's in 5 to 15 minute segments. And that's really, most people can only handle learning 5 to 15 minutes at a time if they need a mental break. This content's broken down so that you have those breaks and you consume and retain the content. It's evergreen. That goes along with accuracy. It's evergreen because the content is updated. Some courses, you buy the course and you have access to the course material forever, but it goes out of date. And if you want more up-to-date stuff, you're going to pay a new membership fee. And this course is once for all time. That's unheard of outside anything that I've known before. SMI, Stephen Floyd's coursework, is the only thing that's evergreen in this way. It's supported, just like Stephen was talking about. He has been on the phone with me. He has been on Zoom with me to help me with difficulties that really had nothing to do with him. They weren't his problem, but he helped me out anyway. That's the kind of person Stephen is. And finally, he's not the only one. There's community. There's other people in the community that reach out and help where they can. And I've been in good communities before, and I'm still in some good ones. But This one is tightly knit. And I think part of the reason for that is because of Stephen and his team's commitment to sticking with everybody that is part of the community and not letting anybody get left behind. That's kind of a military thing anyway. You know, you don't leave people behind. You bring them along, whether they're hurt, whether they're succeeding. Everybody goes together, and this community is more tightly knit than anything I've seen up to this point. And so I'll stop there and hand the reins over to whoever wants them next.